What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, September 27th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 1400 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from here in the US and from overseas. So, the UK Telegraph is reporting that Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, spoke with Trump about Tomahawk missiles, and this happened during a recent closed-door meeting on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. And if you remember, after that meeting, Zelensky said that it was the most substantive meeting so far that he's had with Trump. But basically, Zelensky and Trump were talking about using Tomahawk missiles to strike deep inside of Russia. This was reported by multiple sources who told this to the UK Telegraph. Okay, so Zelensky made a request to get Tomahawk missiles from the US, and apparently Zelensky's going to get them, and they were talking about striking Moscow and different targets inside of Russia. And according to the sources, Trump is said to be open to the request of long-range cruise missiles and other advanced systems from Ukraine. Okay, remember what Trump said like 2 months ago? He told Zelensky, why don't you strike St. Petersburg or Moscow? That's what he literally said openly in public. Okay, so I think Trump now sees Putin as his rival, as his competitor, and I think Trump is now going to go out of his way to bury Putin and make his life a living hell and arm Ukraine. And he may not openly admit that the U.S. is giving weapons directly to Ukraine because he knows that that's not the most popular thing with his base, but I think he's going to be doing it behind closed doors, okay? So that is huge news. Also huge news, the president of Ukraine confirmed that Ukraine has been using a Patriot missile system donated from Israel for about a month now. Okay, so Israel gave Ukraine a Patriot system a month ago, and he said that they're going to get 2 more Patriot systems in the fall. Okay, so huge news there. Israel giving Ukraine a Patriot system, and it's been operating for a month. And we're also hearing that the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, that's the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, has been without external power for the 3rd day in a row. Okay, that is very, very concerning. This is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, has no external fuel supply or power supply for the past 3 days, okay? And in an interview with Axios, the president of Ukraine said he believes Trump wants Ukraine to win the war. Zelensky thinks that Trump understands that Putin will not help him end the war. And we have some major breaking news coming in from Venezuela. So NBC News reported yesterday, citing 2 sources inside the Trump administration, that Trump is preparing options for military strikes on drug targets inside of Venezuela. Okay, so this could happen any day now. And Venezuela is currently doing disaster preparedness drills today nationwide. It was ordered by the Maduro government, and we're hearing that Maduro is weighing declaring a state of emergency to bolster defenses ahead of the U.S. attack. Okay, so this is huge news. And Maduro said that military officials from several Latin American countries have sent him letters of support, warning that if the U.S. touches Venezuela, then they touch us all. Wow. So this could be an interesting situation once this war kicks off in Venezuela. And the U.S. State Department will be revoking the visa of Colombian President Gustavo Petro. Wow. So he's not going to be able to come to this country anymore, probably after all the nasty things he said at the UN. If you didn't see his speech, I recommend you watch his speech. He was calling on militaries around the world to be deployed into Gaza. Absolutely insane. And Belarus has deployed the Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile on its territory. This was confirmed by the Belarusian Foreign Minister Rezhenkov. He said this yesterday. So this is an IRBM. Deploying these kind of weapons in the European theater has always been considered taboo. During the Cold War, there was a ban on these types of weapons. But looks like Russia doesn't care about taboos, and they're deploying these IRBMs now to Belarus, which basically gives Russia the capability of striking anywhere inside of Europe without the Europeans being able to intercept it, okay? Because this missile travels at 20,000 times, 20,000 miles per hour, 20 times the speed of sound. And there's really no way to intercept that, especially when it's so close, okay? And the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, has ordered all national resources of North Korea to be allocated to strengthening the country's nuclear program with the aim of ensuring sovereignty and national security. Wow, so suddenly the leader of North Korea is concerned about sovereignty and national security, and he's ordering all resources in North Korea to strengthen the nuclear program. Guys, that is not normal, okay? Could you imagine if a U.S. president or European leader said, yeah, we're going to dedicate all national resources to strengthening our nuclear program? I mean, that's just crazy, okay? So I think we're on the verge of something huge. And I think it could be World War III, a war with Russia, China, North Korea, and Venezuela simultaneously, and Iran, okay? And that could be why next week we're going to have this huge meeting here in the U.S. of the generals and commanders and admirals from all over the world, okay? There's a big reason why Hegseth, the Secretary of War, as he's called now, used to be the Defense Secretary. Now he's the Secretary of War. Okay, if that's not an indication of the mindset of the Trump administration and where we're heading, okay, Secretary of War. The last time we had a Secretary of War was during the Second World War, okay, World War II. But you don't call all the generals in the U.S. military from every nook and cranny around the world back to the U.S. to talk about warrior ethos. That's what the Pentagon is now saying, that, yeah, this is just all about, culture change and making sure the generals understand the new culture of the Department of War, okay? And we're going to talk about warrior ethos. And if you believe that, I'm sorry, you're very naive, okay? You don't do that. You don't call generals from high-risk areas like the North Korean DMZ, from the Middle East, these high-risk conflict zones, to talk about warrior ethos, okay? There's something going on here, okay? And now suddenly North Korea is dedicating all of their national resources to their nuclear program. So guys, get prepared, okay? Make sure you have a bug-out bag. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. Okay, and most of all, get right with God. And the Interior Ministry of Germany's Schleswig-Holstein reported on Friday that drones were spotted overnight and are under investigation for potential espionage and sabotage. Following recent incidents in Denmark and other European countries, Schleswig-Holstein is maintaining close and ongoing coordination with the federal government and the German armed forces. Okay, so Schleswig-Holstein is the part of Germany that borders Denmark. It's it's where Hamburg is located. Okay, so yesterday, more drones in the Denmark area, this time spotted in northern Germany. And then also there were drones in Sweden last night. Overnight, Swedish police were alerted after multiple residents on Sturko and Tajerko reported drones flying in the area. Witnesses described 2 large drones with red and green lights similar to those recently seen over Denmark, Norway, and southern Sweden. The drones flew just a few kilometers from Sweden's main naval base in Karlskrona. Wow. And a massive combined strike on Ukraine is possible in the coming days. Russia transferred bombers to the borders of Ukraine over the last 2 days. Special attention should be paid to the central and western parts of Ukraine. A red level has been received. This is being reported by Ukraine monitors. Okay, so Russia's planning a massive strike on central and western Ukraine with cruise missiles and drones. And what's very concerning about this is Poland is right on the border of western Ukraine. So we know that Trump told NATO to start shooting down Russian planes in NATO airspace, and now Poland has amended their law to allow them to shoot down Russian targets inside of Ukraine. Russian missiles and drones can now be shot down inside of Ukraine according to Polish law. Okay, before Poland would have to get approval from allies. Okay, so this is huge, and maybe Russia's going to put that to the test now and try to test Poland or antagonize them. We'll have to wait and see. And Ukraine is saying that Hungarian drones were recorded flying twice over the Zakarpattia region at different altitudes. So that's the Ukrainian Carpathians, which border Hungary. Okay, they're saying that Hungary sent recon drones into the Ukrainian Carpathians. And the Washington Post, citing sources, is reporting that Russia is training Chinese airborne forces for an invasion of Taiwan. And we know that China has been helping Russia with their drones. They sent engineers to Russia to help Russia build drones. And yesterday we had a very rare test count by a U.S. Strategic Command radio station in Puerto Rico on the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency. So that's clearly a sign that we're getting ready to strike Venezuela. And the Russian Federation is secretly preparing sabotage operations around the British Isles, studying underwater communications. This threatens the internet, energy, and military communications in Europe. This was reported by the Financial Times. And NATO is training in Ukraine now to counter drones. The alliance will deploy new interception technologies. It is no longer possible to use expensive missiles to shoot down cheap drones, said Secretary General Mark Rutte. So glad that NATO's finally catching up with the anti-drone technology, and they're not spending $30 million to shoot down drones made of styrofoam like they did in Poland. And here we have a U.S. Navy sub-hunter off the coast of Russia in the Kola Peninsula area. This is where Russia has their northern fleet. That's where they have 2/3 of their nuclear-armed subs. So the U.S. is concerned about Russian nuclear-armed subs, and they want to count how many are in port and how many are out to sea. So they're flying this sub-hunter here to keep track of Russia's submarine activity, and that will tell us about Russia's nuclear posture. And before I go, I just wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which was Alpha Omega Gold Group. Guys, precious metals are skyrocketing. It's a good time to buy gold and silver. And check out Alpha Omega Gold Group. They're a Christian-based company, and they're my new partner, so check them out, ao.gold/NYP. They have a free precious metals guide when you go to that link, and the link is in the description down below. That's ao.gold/NYP. Get on the bandwagon of gold and silver while the prices are still going up. It's a good investment, and it's a good hedge against inflation and instability. And then finally, follow me on X. My X handle is at NYPrepper1. I'm trying to build up my X account as an alternative to YouTube and as a backup. But That's pretty much it for this one, guys. I might be back later on tonight, closer to midnight, live with a live update closer to midnight. I do have some things to do this afternoon and this evening. I have a charity truck show that I'm bringing my truck to. It's a cystic fibrosis charity locally here, so I will be busy throughout the evening with that, but I might be back later tonight, closer to midnight. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.